Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What it is, we back again with another video as promised. Today's video topic is going to be, how did you know that your spouse was the one? So, I'm going to ask my wife Carly if she want to start. If not, I guess I'll start. Hun, do you want to start?
You can start.
She always want to go last, which I don't understand why, but it's okay. So, let me see. Let me think on this one. How did I know that she was the one? It was her body. It was her body, y'all. Her body. Let me stop. Basically, I was out there. My wife wasn't, but I was out there, and I did the whole dating scene thing, and came to understand it and realizing that it wasn't what I really wanted. I really wanted to find someone to settle down with. I really wanted to find someone that I could see my life, spend my rest of my life with. And meeting, here, meeting her at the time I met her, never did I thought that we would be where we are today. We started off as good friends. We started off as good friends. And friendship grew to a little bit more, and it was just something different about her, like her wisdom that she had. For her to be so young, she was very wise for her age. She had a good head on her shoulder. She knows what she wanted out of life. She knew how she go about and achieve what she wanted out of life. It was different because it wasn't, not trying to be funny, it wasn't sex. It wasn't all about sex. Like when I was out there, yeah, it was about that. But it was just different because it was just something that was not there at first. Like we talked about that area, but never went in the direction of that area, which was different. And she made me look at myself different versus the others that I dated. I didn't have to try to be more than myself, put it that way. I didn't have to put on the front. I didn't have to act like I had money. I didn't have to act like I had cars. Because let's be honest, no, I had none of that. I had none of that. And she never judged me from that, not having that. She helped me achieve the stuff that I wanted. So, yeah, I knew she was the one. But being the person I am, jokester that I was, got her ring, and I proposed to her, and I slid her ring across the Thanksgiving table. It was just funny games, but it was just me being who I am, and I appreciate her for letting me be who I am. Do she get on my nerves sometimes? Yeah. And I believe I get on her sometimes. But it's a part of marriage. So, babe, you go. What's yours? Yeah, she gotta think about this one, y'all. Ponder on it.
Well, I knew that Ryrick was the one for me because we're just gonna be honest. There's a distinct age difference between my husband and I, and we're honest enough that for some people they might not understand it, and for some people they're gonna judge regardless. But it's our story and it's our truth. I met my husband at a very vulnerable age, and I was younger than my husband was.
You are younger than I am.
Well,
I know.
I still am. But let's be honest, I was a young teenage girl looking for love in places that I shouldn't have been. If we're honest. But this is how I knew that one, God's hand was in it, and that two, that my husband was an honorable man, because I was looking to lose my virginity. And this is a very vulnerable moment, and I propositioned my husband that I wanted him to be that person. Not like that day, but I felt comfortable enough just by seeing the type of man that he was. Really?
Because I was looking at something.
People are going to think what they want to think at the end of the day, but the honest guided truth was my husband and I didn't engage anywhere remotely physical with each other until I was legal enough age. I met my husband when I was younger, and he told me straight up, like, little girl, you is tripping. I ain't going to jail for you. Like, no ma'am, no ham, no turkey biscuits. The devil is a lie. Like, you where your daddy at? Like, that's what my husband said. Like, where your daddy at? Like, your dad's not in your life? Because he realized that I was a young girl looking for the love of her father. And he didn't prey on that. And I am really thankful for that, because that story could have turned out so much different.
True.
He turned around and told me, you know, I want you to love yourself. He was like, I want you to understand your worth and your value, and that you are worth so much more than your body, that you are so much worth. He explained to me the importance of, once you lose that, you never get that back. You don't ever get that opportunity back again. And for him to be a man or a guy to tell a female that, that made me respect him. I was young. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't saved. And I wanted to feel loved by someone. I was lost and broken. And that's why I said I don't mind sharing, because, like I said, people going to say what they want to say at the end of the day, but it's our story. And when my husband and I did become intimate with each other, and when we did turn the interest into dating, I was a legal, grown adult. So people can say what they want to say at the end of the day. But in the same breath, God used my husband to guard my heart. Because I know for a fact that if I would have said it to another dude, that I wouldn't have the story that I have today. And I wouldn't be with my husband. And I think sometimes you need to have honest truths like this to make sure that people understand that there are honest, good men out there. No, my husband did not do anything with me while I was not legal. But in the same breath, I thank God at the same time that he loved me enough as a person to say, little girl, you need to go sit down somewhere.
The reason why I was able to do that, ladies and gentlemen, was because I was once myself looking for the love, and I was out there doing the whole sexual thing, thinking that, oh, you can find love in the bed. And when she did say the proposition that she said to me, I didn't want her to go through that, because I was like, no, that's not the way, that's not how you find love. Because ultimately you get hurt, and you're hurting somebody else in the process. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was the first initial start of to know there was something different about him. And from that moment, like, he was like, I'll talk to you as far as, you know, being a friend to you, because we were in a close circle because of our connection to each other's families. My husband is my cousin's best friend. That's how we initially met. And I hung out with my cousin a lot. He hung out with my cousin a lot. So he was always nice to me when we were in the circle of all of us hanging out. But he also didn't mind saying, you know, you're better than that. Like, don't subject yourself to that. And that's how I said I know it was the hand of God, because not to say that I was a bomb or anything like that, but there were grown men that were propositioning me. And I think that's part of the issue that we don't talk about a lot of times in society. So there were dudes that was like, hey girl, you trying to, cause I can, you know, help you with that. And him being like, no ma'am, you're worth more than that, it opened up my eyes, and it made me see like, and it made me think from a different place, and it made me realize that I was initially responding from such a hurt and broken place. There was so much other stuff that I was going through. Also, when it came to that, I used to cut. I was a cutter. I was cutting during that time also. So I was really broken. Throwing sex on top of that was about to just further complicate that. And that's how I said, that's why I say that God makes no mistakes. You don't have to agree. I just know the testimony for my life. That in the time that I was broken and that I needed someone to cover me, he covered me. He didn't take advantage of it. He covered me. And for some people, they might think and say, oh, well, that shouldn't have been his place and he shouldn't have. But God knew what he was doing because he's my covering now. And ultimately, God was just showing me all along that he was my covering. When I felt vulnerable and when I needed somebody to talk to, I talked to him. And he didn't talk inappropriately. He didn't take that as a way as to say, let me get close to her so that she'll trust me and violate me. I'm saying this because there are so many girls that was not their story.
So true. So true.
There are so many girls that were looking for love and were looking for someone to cover them, and the person took advantage of that.
Come on.
And that wasn't my case, and I'm so grateful for that. And as I began to grow older, and I began to grow wiser, I began to understand where he was coming from when he was saying, don't respond from such a broken place. I mean, my husband has helped me through some of the most difficult times of my life. Like I said, I used to cut, and I was cutting. Like, nobody in my family knew that I was cutting. I was walking around with long sleeve shirts on in the summertime because I was cutting, and they weren't paying attention. And it's no knock or shade to my family because everybody had something happening in their life. And I've come to that conclusion of that God sent the help in the way that he did for a reason. And my husband was the one that convinced me to open up and to tell my family that I had a problem with cutting. He was the one that told me that I needed to reach out for help and get help on it. And I was able to because I found the courage and the strength to go and talk to my grandmother and to tell my grandmother what was going on. And I was able to get help. I was able to get counseling for that. And so that was life-changing for me. He helped me to understand where a lot of my frustration was coming from. And then he also helped to point me in the right direction of God. I was really struggling in my faith because I was frustrated and didn't understand why God would have allowed my life to be the life that I had. Don't get me wrong, my life wasn't all horrible. You know, I didn't grow up with financial struggles like some people did, but there was a lot of emotional, mental trauma that I experienced growing up. Unfortunately, because of having a parent that was addicted to drugs. And I used inappropriate measures to hide that. And my husband was the shining light on some of that. And he made me have to begin to really look and think from a different place of, if I wanted better for myself, I had to think better. If I wanted better for myself, I had to be honest about where I was. And when I started talking to my husband, that's what happened. Like, he began to give me a different language, a different understanding, a different press. I was mad at God. I was frustrated with God. I was over God. And my husband was like, oh, I love the Lord. And, oh, you know, he had his own struggles, but he believed in the power of prayer. I don't even remember that. At that time, I hadn't even remembered the last time I had even prayed. Like, and I was sitting in church. Faithfully. Singing in the choir. Faithfully. I was turned up on Saturdays for the devil. Faithfully. And still walking up in church on Sundays with the conviction of that I knew that I couldn't sing in the choir because I wasn't going to be a hypocrite, but in the same breath, I didn't have a choice in the matter of whether or not I was going to sing or not. So then I started rebelling. And my husband was like, well, you have a choice, Yasmin. You can begin to change your life so then you don't have to feel like you're being a hypocrite by doing the stuff that you know you shouldn't be doing anyways. Or you could continue on the path that you're on. He was like, but I know that's not who you are, and I know that's not who God intended you to be. And I know that's not the life that God has for you. So when he began to say stuff like that to me, I had to really begin to think about it and think about how I wanted to change my life for the better. And I began little things, little prayers, little talks with God of, Lord, I really want to change this, or Lord, I really want to stop doing this. Lord, I don't want to be like this anymore, because I was jacked up. I mean,
we all were.
I was jacked up, and it was things like that made the difference when I began to gain my sobriety and had a moment of coming to myself and understanding that there was so much more for my life than the potential I was living at. I began to understand that this was the person that I would want to have my back. This is the person that I would want to be in my corner. And that the times that I couldn't fight for myself, this is the person that would help me fight. And that made the difference for me. We've had a lot of struggles. It was not easy. Like, the year before we got married, I got diagnosed with Graves' disease and thyroid disease. And they found a mass on my thyroid gland, and I ended up having to get chemo and radiation. I ended up losing all of my hair. And my husband was there. He wasn't my husband at the time. He was only my fiance. But he was there through it all. Like, from me being diagnosed and going through spells where I thought I was crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. Like, I went to the doctors and was like, there's something wrong with me. There's something mentally wrong with me. Like, I'm unstable. Like, I might be bipolar. Like, I literally thought that I was going psychotic. And the doctor, was like, calm down. We're going to find out what it is. And they found out what it was and told me what they were going to do to treat me. And he was like, so when you start? And I told him, everything the doctor said. And he was like, well, when does your treatment start? He drove me to all of my appointments.
Rough. It was rough.
He sat outside the bathroom as I threw up some days. When I lost my hair, he stood in the bathroom with me and was like, if you want me to, I'll shave my head with you. He was like, I'll shave all my hair off.
I was like, we could bald together.
I'll shave my mustache off, my beard off. He was like, we can be bald together. And I'll never forget that day. Like, he helped me shave the rest of my hair off and took me to the wig store and was like, whatever wig you want, let's grab it. And I was like, seriously? And he was like, yup. He was like, whatever wig you want, let's grab it. And even the moments that I was grouchy and I was trying to push him away because I didn't understand why somebody would want to stay with me through all of that, he would tell me, he was like, you're trying to push me away, but I'm not going anywhere. He was like, your hair doesn't define if you're beautiful or not to me. He was like, hair is nothing. We can grow some hair. We can get you some hair. He was like, we can get you some. Like, we can buy you some bundles. We can buy you some wigs. And he did. He brought me my very first wig. And my hair started growing back, like, midway through. And I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, when it got closer to the wedding, he was like, I don't know what to do, because it was still really, really short, but it was long enough to grasp, like, to braid. And I was spazzing out about it. And he was like, don't worry about it. He was like, I'm trying to tell you, you can wear a wig. We can, like, all you gotta do is put one of them little tiaras on your head and let's go. He's like, put the veil on. He was like, I won't tug at your wig. You don't have to worry about it coming off and stuff like that. So, but then I ended up, he was like, he knew that's not what I wanted. So then he started researching, and he was like, what about these? And at the time, like, micro braids were really popular. And he was like, you could get these braids, and then they can style them, and then you can look beautiful, and you ain't got to worry about it. And just the fact of the matter that he took the time to even think about me. My husband, that's the one thing I love about him. He's very selfless at times. He doesn't mind thinking about others. And
I think that's why I get hurt at a lot.
Yeah, I've had to see him be hurt because of his selflessness. And that makes me sometimes, and I guess that's the reason why sometimes people always say that I'm aggressive in nature, because I go hard for the people that I love, and I've had to say to him, no, you're not going to do that. Which I know that he didn't all the time understand why I was saying that. But it was because of the fact that I've seen him pour his heart out and try his best to do for others, and them not appreciate it, them take it for granted, and think that it was something that was expected. And so I didn't mean to cry, but when you really think about it, like, my husband and I have been together for a long time, longer than we realize probably sometimes. But, you know, we're gonna make 12 years of marriage this coming May. And
May what?
May the 12th.
All right, you know.
Of course I know. I will never forget that day. We'll have to do a story time about our wedding day. You will not even begin to believe some of the stuff that happened on our wedding day. But as us going down memory lane, some of the stuff that we've overcame and lived through, the average couple
Wouldn't have been together.
They would have been quit and gave up.
Because we talked about it on the way here. That's funny that you said that, because we were talking about it on the way here, like all the stuff we went through. And I sat back and I thought about it. I said, God, I thank you, because you brought us through that. And not only did you bring us through that, but you brought us through that together. Because some of the stuff we went through, but then that third year marriage, that would have broke us. Yeah. That would have broke the normal couple. I'm not trying to be funny. That would have broke the normal couple. But because of the faith and the trust and the belief we had in God, He was the one that got us through. I mean, with the story time we do on our next one, you guys going to be like, whoa.
Yeah. Like, we want to be honest with you guys. I mean, we had a lot of challenges, and we had, like, really no one. I mean, we got counseling in the beginning, premarital counseling. We got counseling, you know, when we first got married. But a lot of what we had to learn was leaning and depending on each other, and leaning and depending on God. Like,
seriously.
And so our goal is to kind of help build a community where people don't have to feel like they don't have anybody.
We're here to help you and share the knowledge and the experience that we had to go through, so you won't have to go through that.
And be vulnerable enough to be honest. I think the hardest part with society is sometimes we just aren't honest.
Honesty is the key.
And there's
Honesty.
some stuff that you have to talk about that's uncomfortable. So just so that the fact of the matter, people can know and realize that you're human, you're not perfect,
And that you need help.
and that you need help.
There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with it. We as a society have to stop making it seem, oh, asking for help is so bad. It's nothing wrong with asking for help. Because you asking for help is meaning you can get the help you actually need. So you would have to go through the stuff that you're going through.
And then most importantly, it's the fact of the matter, and I'm going to always go back to this. What could have and what started out as, God totally, that's one of those things where when the Bible says that God can cause things to work together for your good, what started off as that could have potentially been a trap set by the enemy, God turned it around for our good. And God used it as a measure, as to say, as, you know, I'm going to cover you in the midst of your unthinking, in the midst of you responding in your flesh, in the midst of you thinking and trusting from such a broken place. God covered me and said, you know what? I'm going to allow you to fall in the arms of the right person. And that's God. Because, like I said, there are so many girls that they don't have that as their testimony. They went looking for a covering in all the wrong places, and they fell into the arms of a predator. And I'm just grateful to God that God used my husband. I didn't know he was going to be my husband at the time. God knows I didn't know it, but God knew what I needed. And I've always kind of been like a real to myself person. So for me to even present myself in that mannerism, to be bold enough to come and say something like that, and when it came out of my mouth, I couldn't believe I said it, first of all, because I was just like, after I said it, like this dude gonna think I'm crazy. And he didn't demean me. He didn't be like, you fast tail little girl. Like, none of that. He chuckled. And he was like, as flattered as I am, you do realize that ain't about to happen, right? Like, that's not about to happen. And like I said it the way I said it, but I didn't mean it the way that I said it. It was me being vulnerable at the time because I was attracted to him. And it was his mannerism that attracted me to him, that I felt like if there was anybody that I wanted to present my body to, I wanted it to be him. And like I said, he could have hurt my feelings and be like, you trying to set me up and and all those things.
Excuse me.
And he didn't. But he came at me in a way that was so kind and gentle, but also there was correction. And so that just, ultimately just made me aware of that in the future, if I was looking for somebody, that's what I want. That's what I want to look for. And so that's how I knew that he was the one for me. So we hope that our story, like I said, people are going to have their own opinions. We're okay with it at this point because we understand and we've acknowledged, and even in the moments of other people not understanding, because there is an age difference between us, of how our parents felt like any of this was appropriate. My mom and them were not okay in the beginning. We even went through that. Like, there was an incident where my mom was like, stay away from my daughter. But ultimately, I had to be mature enough to go to my mom and have the conversation. He came to my mom and was mature enough to have the conversation and say, listen, it wasn't like that. And we were honest with my mom. Like, and I was honest with my mom, and I was honest with my grandma of, I was attracted to him. Yes, there was an age difference between us, but I was attracted to him. And my mom and my grandma made it abundantly clear, like, you're not dating, you don't have a boyfriend until you're 18. And he was respectful of that. She didn't make it so that we couldn't talk to each other, but we were never alone together She knew that I would hang out with him when I would hang out in the group with my cousins and them. And then when I turned 18, he respectfully went to my grandmother and the guy who raised me to be my father, that I know as my father, and was like, I would like to respectfully ask to talk to your daughter. Just because of the fact of the matter that from the past, he wanted to make his intentions clear to my parents of, I'm not trying to violate your daughter. You know, and my parents didn't ultimately like it, but I was grown. I was 18 at the time. And they knew that we were going to talk to each other. And they set boundaries for us. Even though I was 18, there were still boundaries. We still did everything as a group. I wasn't going out on dates with him by myself. You know, we weren't allowed to be alone. And that led to, looking 18, like 18 and a half. We started talking about the idea of marriage. 19, we were engaged, and right as I was turning 20, we got married. And it's been fun. Yeah, I was like, it's been fun. It's been emotional. It's been challenging. It's been what it's been, but I wouldn't take back any moment. Like, even the hard struggles that we had, I wouldn't take any of those back. I mean, I didn't always understand why we had to struggle so much in the beginning, but now encountering some of the people that we've encountered that's had struggles and that's had questions about their struggles,
setbacks,
we kind of have a language to kind of help them and to say, hey, we understand what that feels like. Hey, we've been there. Even on this now new journey of us trying to pursue and having a family and dealing with having miscarriage and infertility and where do we go from here? We've been encouraged by people who have been where we are and that's overcame and they were able to conceive or they were able to adopt. And we've even had the opportunity to minister and help those who are where we are, of coming to terms with the idea of if you ever will or won't, and being okay with it, and then how will you be able to move forward with it. We've literally seen marriages destroyed because of the fact of the matter that the wife couldn't have children. And so, like, that's so rude. I felt you the first time.
I was just saying. But anywho.
We hope that us being vulnerable and honest can help somebody. And we just hope that you guys enjoyed this video. We plan to do a lot more videos where we can just kind of tell our story and hope that it helps someone along
Y'all
the
pray
way.
for me with these story times. Jesus.
I don't know. I think our story times might be transcribed into a book.
It could be.
It could be. Maybe that's what we need to do. Turn them into a book. We'll see what happens. But we just wanted to take the opportunity to tell you a little more about our story so you guys can get to know us. And we hope that you guys have enjoyed it.
Like, thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification, and that bell.
Yeah. And if you aren't following us on Instagram, don't forget to follow us at hang_with_the_Andersons. And we are officially on Facebook at Hanging with the Andersons. And like we always say, you've been hanging with the Andersons. Bye.
Adios.
Hanging with the Andersons.